Hi, and welcome to a Transformation Advisor one take video. Today we're going to look at what's new in Transformation Advisor 3.5. I'm Paul Barry. Okay, let's jump in straight away and take a look at the what's new. So, what is new? What we have inside the migration plan is we're using the runtime component operator for deployment of WebSphere based containers. So it streamlines that whole process. Where we've provided some additional documentation if you're already on Liberty in VMs, for example, and are looking to modernize those to containers. Inside our recommendations, we now give you comparisons of your different runtime options to help you make the right decision. We're also including the technology type for your applications in the UI. This was previously available only in the reports, and it's going to assist you in terms of figuring out what you need to do on the licensing front. For our WebSphere ND clusters, we've improved the user experience to help you navigate between them. And it's particularly useful if you have a large number of clusters or your clusters are very large. In terms of the workspaces, we've now significantly improved the performance of our deleting, and it's a little bit more robust. So I'm not going to demo that today, but that whole process is a bit cleaner and faster. We have cookie acceptance now. In the scenario where you have authentication turned on, we have to set a cookie. We let you know about that, and you have an opportunity to accept it. Additionally, the data collector is now using the latest binary scanner version 23001. Okay, so that's that. Let's jump across into the data. I've already preloaded some demo data for this video. So now the first time when you come into the recommendations in Transformation 3.5, you're going to get this pop-up that's going to show you all your different modernization target options. So you've got WebSphere Liberty, you've got Open Liberty, you've got WebSphere Traditional. For each of these capabilities down the side, we're either going to tell you, what levels they support. So here, for example, if you look at your Java SE support, at the moment, WebSphere Traditional stops at 8, and you can go to 11 and 17 plus in the Liberties. It's the same for Spring and Spring Boot. And all our green ticks then represent other capabilities that are available between the runtimes. And what you can see is that when it comes to cloud native capabilities, the Liberty runtimes offer a lot of advantages. Zero migration, continuous delivery releases, making sure you can size your image, fast startup, auto tuning, all those kind of things. Also help from a developer point of view, to the degree which the operator is available. And additionally, then, if you look between, shall we say, Open Liberty and WebSphere Liberty comes with some of these heritage WebSphere APIs, which typically tend to reduce your development effort when you're modernizing. So that's that pop-up. It'll only pop up the very first time. It's not going to pop up after that. If you want to see it again, it's in your little eye icon, along with something new. You click on that, and then something new is going to disappear. So that's our different runtime comparisons. Now, what I just wanted to show next then is within those runtimes, you're going to see that core and base technology type. So if I click into this application, for example, we can see along the top here, he's a base technology type. What does that actually mean? It's going to tell you that's the minimum license you require to run this application. Other factors such as entitlement may mean that you need a more significant license. But the point is that this application requires a base license. If we go back to our applications, for example, and we look at our metrics app and look at his, if we look at our metrics app and dive in, what you're going to see here is that it requires a core technology. That's a lower level of licensing than the base one requires. So what it really means is your licensing is going to be made up of the minimum technologies that you're using plus various other factors. So when you have applications that can use core licensing, it's an opportunity to reduce your licensing costs and optimize how you manage your licensing. Now, if we jump back into our data, one of the other things that we're providing in this release is that runtime component operator, and it's relevant for our WebSphere traditional. So TWAS based in containers. So if we take a look at this application and we jump across into its migration plan, what we're going to see is there's now a new file added, this application cr.yaml. If you're used to using Liberty, it's going to look very similar to this, what we give you in the Liberty migration bundle, because we've made them consistent now. So if I take a look at this actual file, what you're going to see is the kind here is runtime component. So the prereq for this is you install your runtime component operator in OCP, and now you have a straightforward and standardized way to deploy your TWAS based in container images into your OCP. Previously, we didn't have this file, we didn't use the runtime component operator, and you'd have to go and you'd have to create pipelines to push it in and do the deployments and all that kind of thing. Very straightforward now. So it's gonna, if you're using TWAS based on containers, it's gonna make the deployment of that much more straightforward. Right, so let's jump back in, and the other thing I wanted to talk about, of course, was clusters. So on the left here, you can see that in this system, when it was analyzed, it has 3 different clusters. And what you can see here in our recommendations is we have a WebSphere ND clusters column. So you can interact with this column as normal. If you've no clustered information, the column won't appear at all, saving you some space. But in this case, you can see here's our different applications. Here's the clusters to which they belong. So it gives you a way to navigate your clusters on the left-hand side by cluster name. You can navigate your cluster by the contents of the cluster by searching for a particular application. And in some cases here, for example, you'll see that this peer recovery demo here is actually part of 2 clusters. So these are all clickable links. So I'm just going to jump into the app cluster here. What you see on the left-hand side is your app cluster. In here, we're seeing our 7 applications, and we see what clusters they're part of. If it's grayed out, it just means that you're already in this cluster, you can't get to it. But for example, for your peer recovery demo, you can see that actually you can navigate across to this other cluster as well. So what we've done here is we've given you means of navigating by cluster name on the left. We've given you means of navigating by cluster content, cluster content, the applications that are in your cluster. And if I jump back into Java applications, that of course also gives us access to the search capabilities. So for example, here I can say I want to find my dynamic cluster, and here we go, we've now found it by cluster name. So it just gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of interacting with those WebSphere ND clusters that we detected during the data collection phase. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the cookie acceptance. So for this, I'm going to open an incognito window just to save me having to clean up all of my different cookies. And I'm going to go to a system that I have set up that has authentication already turned on. So this just happens to be running in OCP. And what happens now is that when you, from TA350, when you first connect to a system that is using authentication, what you're going to see is a prompt here around your privacy details. So the only time we need to set a cookie is when you're using authentication. So if you're not using authentication, you're not going to see this at all. What cookies are we going to set? We're going to set that access token cookie, which is your authentication cookie, and we're also going to set a TA accept cookie if you choose to accept it. Now you can choose to decline it, in which case we send you to the logout screen and we delete the cookie. You've no granularity in cookie acceptance. If you want to use an authenticated system, you have to take that access cookie. That's the long and the short of it. So now I can log back in again, and it's going to prompt me again because I haven't accepted the cookie yet. And at this time, I accept the cookie, I get into my data, and if I come back again, like if I refresh this screen again now, you're going to see that I'm not going to be reprompted for the cookie because I've accepted it. The TA accept cookie is in place. There we go. Okay, so I think that's pretty much covered everything. Let me just take a quick look at the what's new. Oh yeah, the other area I wanted to talk about was what happens if you're already running on Liberty and you want to get to Liberty in containers. And we just have some documentation on that. What that's going to do for you is give you a kind of a generic migration bundle. You're going to run some commands using the binary scanner from the data collector, and that's going to fill in the other parts of that bundle that you want. And then that's going to put you in a position to have all the artifacts that you need to actually build an image and deploy it out. It's not yet integrated into the TA UI. That's something we're looking at. It's in the not yet category. Okay, I think that's everything I want to cover for Transformation Advisor 3.5. Thanks very much.